Why hello everybody, Spencer here, also known as Lego Dude 11, and in today's video, this is a brand new movie review out on the channel for you, and in today's video, I am going to be discussing Top Gun Maverick for you today. So without further ado, let's discuss. Alrighty, so as mentioned, today's video is about Top Gun Maverick, and now I had no anticipation for this movie, not because I didn't think it was going to be a good movie, not because this is a genre that I don't like, just because I hadn't seen the original, and when this movie was first announced, I was like, what is this, right? And I was like, oh, it's an 80s revival movie. It was a movie that came out previously. I hadn't seen it. I wasn't shown it when I was younger, so I was like, okay, with this new one coming out, why don't I check it out? Never got around to it, so watched the original 2 days, 2 days before I saw it. The day of this recording, I actually saw the movie earlier this morning. So I made a list of notes here about the movie, and it's not really a spoiler review, it's just my brief thoughts here. It's not going to be super long. I just kind of wanted to make this review as opposed to a short review, kind of like I did for my Chip and Dale video, which had other ones in it with the Umbrella Academy season video, but I wanted to make this just because I saw the original 2 days before and had a good time with that, watched it at home, and then went and saw this movie in IMAX. That was a great experience. This movie, by the way, is even better. It's a stellar movie than the original, but I will recommend, if you have not seen this new movie, like if you went into this movie cold, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you haven't seen this new one, or are planning to see this new one, and have not seen the original, watch the original, because it is a must, and it gives you a little bit of knowledge as to other characters and more depth into the story. So I want to kick off my my notes here with this score, because it blew me away. Like, I always talk about the scores to Marvel films and superhero scores and you know, TV shows, right? Hence, I'm watching Stranger Things right now, and that has a killer soundtrack, and also like Cobra Kai, just these things that have like a nice action-packed soundtrack to it. But this, even though it's a movie about jet planes, jet fighters, fighter jets, the soundtrack is really nice. If you're talking about when they're flying, to even you know, they bring back the Highway to the Danger Zone song, and as the beginning, the intro music is playing, it has the title words popping up on the screen, and it says, I don't remember vividly what it said. It said like soundtrack by Hans Zimmer or music by Hans Zimmer, and it said original soundtrack done by Lorne Balfe. Now, that guy did back in 2013, I believe it was, or maybe 14, he did Penguins of the Madagascar movie, and I stand by that movie. I love Penguins of Madagascar show. I like penguins, so I digress. But he also did the Black Widow soundtrack. So him coming in, doing some stuff for this, him and Hans Zimmer, I thought those are two great people. I mean, they're not high class, but they're people that have done movies I like, so I was nice to see those names up there. So that's just a little bit about the soundtrack. I like that this dove more, like I paid attention more about the soundtrack in this one than I did in the original one. There's nothing like bad about the original one, it's just I kind of pay more attention to it because of those names. Anyway, moving on to the next thing is the nostalgia for this movie. And I feel like for me, not, like, again, there are movies that when I grew up with, like, for instance, the Avengers movie, I grew up with that, or even better yet, the Iron Man movie, when it came out in 2008, and I wasn't old enough to see that in the theater, and, you know, I grew up with that, I watched it at home, but this movie came out years before I was born, so watching it days before the or this new one. I love this movie, this new movie, and there are people that grew up with the original watching this now, and I feel like it just blew everybody away. And for what I'm going to get to later in this video is about how this movie changed. I shouldn't say changed, that's not the right word, but how it's different to its predecessor. So I kind of just want to kind of segue into right into that. And I think lots of people will have nostalgia like factor like blown away for this. And the cinematography is phenomenal in this. It's terrible. I don't want to compare it to this movie I'm about to say, but when I went and saw The Batman with my friends, I walked out of that movie saying that movie, the cinematography in that movie was shot so well. And I thought it was the best like shot movie I'd seen in a while. Which last year's West Side Story in 2021, which was so good. I thought that had some great shots in it as well. I mean, Steven Spielberg does some great stuff, but this Top Gun Maverick has the best like airplane shots, like upside down shots, and even like when the architectural shots as well, like just like mountains and the landscapes as well. It's just a beauty, and when they're flying, it just looks so great. And I don't need more of this. It's not something I'm like, I need more of this in a franchise, but just the way it was done was a beauty. And seeing it in IMAX as well, with the sound and the big screen, with everything. I mean, it wasn't 3D, so it wasn't like it was coming at me, but it was something else. It was just something to appreciate. So yeah, it's something I just kind of wanted to mention on the fly, not on the fly. I just kind of wanted to give my brief thoughts on that. I also wrote down the humor. There is a good chunk of humor in this film if you're looking for it. I do want to mention a side note about it. I didn't write this down. But for people like me who are big into nerdy things, like, this is not a movie, again, like I was anticipating doing here. I kind of wore this shirt for this review, but I'm into superheroes, nerdy things, if it's Beetlejuice, Gremlins, kind of like horror type. I'm trying to get more into the horror, like nerdy things, superheroes, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, fantasy. But this is something where if you're not into this genre, that's okay. I just want to tell people about my thoughts on this movie, and I've also done reviews like about like Cobra Kai. I mean, that's also a nerdy thing, but like Stranger Things or High School Musical, the series. That's a Disney thing. I like talking about Disney things, but this movie is definitely one I would enjoy and actually go back to the theater for. But just want to let you guys know a little bit of a side note, like why I wanted to do this. It's not really it's more of a niche, which is what I try to do here on the channel, but I just wanted to take a turn and do a different type of review for you, but I still like this movie, so that's kind of why I'm doing it. But going back to it, there's a good chunk of humor in this movie, whether that's banter between the military, I mean, just everybody, anybody, with Maverick himself, and and his mates and the people he's teaching and all that. There's a new romance, a new flame in this movie with Maverick. I was kind of watching the movie going, okay, where's the original woman? Maybe she couldn't come back. I don't know. I just wonder where she went. Like, I just kind of am going, did something happen? Did I miss something from the original? Like, where was the original woman? I think she went somewhere. But I didn't know like why she couldn't make an appearance in this movie. I thought like the romance was so random. I was like, okay, how do they know each other? I just kind of wanted more backstory. That was the only thing I was confused about. But anyway, the movie was still good. I liked the romance. It didn't make the movie, like, it wasn't a downgrade. I was just kind of confused. I was like, okay, how does Maverick and the woman know each other? Maybe I missed something, but I still understood what was going on. There were definitely a bunch of emotional sequences as well. I would have cried, only I didn't, just because I feel like if I had grown up with the original, I probably would have cried more. But since I didn't feel like I was crying. It's hard. I would have cried, except it wasn't, like, if it related to me more, but I could definitely feel the emotional beats of this movie. My mom was definitely crying next to me, but I would have cried if it had more impactfulness to me. But I definitely could tell what was, like, how emotional it was. The story and the references are great, so I'm not going to spoil anything if you have not seen this movie. But basically, Maverick is teaching a new set of... He goes back to Top Gun, like in the original. He was at Top Gun school, and now he's teaching a new class of graduates at the Top Gun school, and they're working on this mission, which essentially is life or death. And I'm not going to give anything away here, but basically how I interpreted this was a real-life situation of blowing up the Death Star at an enemy base. And that's all I'll say. And it was, like, stressful. It was, I mean, it was tense. It was scary. Like, not, like, horror scary, but it was, like, in the situations, it's a life or death mission. And it can get tense. It can get, not gruesome, but just... You're on the edge of your seat trying to see if they're going to make it or not, going to succeed at their mission. And yeah, I love the story, everything about it, just the way, how different it was. Again, how it was shot, the way the dialogue, how they worked it inside the jets. And again, with the references, with the story, there's a son to one of the original characters in the first one, which I'm not going to really mention. I don't want to spoil too much, but if you guys have seen it and you know what I'm talking about, there's a son, and which is kind of another emotional beat to this movie. But Maverick and him are talking. There's a plot about in this movie that just the references, and the actor's name is Miles Teller, who also plays the Mr. Fantastic in Fanforstic, which is terrible. Don't watch it. I unfortunately have seen it. It was such a great dynamic that the guy, Miles Teller, almost looked identical. He could have been his real-life son. I really thought it was the same guy. But the connection in this movie, it gets you. It almost got me, like, the way they not parallel, but the way they fit this storyline in was so good. I loved it a lot. So... yeah, I love the story, I love the references, everything about this movie for me just worked on a level, like, it was, like, better than the original. But I'm not going to say that this is my #1 movie of the year. I'm going to put it right now at #2, maybe even #3 as of saying this video, because I still need to watch The Northman as of making this video, and then... seen Doctor Strange, I've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, I've seen The Batman, and all of those are really good. So I'm still trying to make my top 10 list right now. We're already in June here, so I'm looking forward to what the rest of the year has to come. So I'd give this an 8.5, maybe. Or I'd give it a 9.2. And I know that's all the way up. I'd give it 9.2, just for a little bit of a 8.8, like, because I was a little bit confused about some things, but other than that, I'd give it a 9.2. Definitely rush out to see this if you haven't already. It's worth the watch. If you've already seen Doctor Strange, check this one out. It is worth the watch. It came out a day before my birthday, so, hey, it was worth it. And I had a great time with this. It's a great Memorial Day watch. It's great. And I've actually talked to a couple friends of mine. One of my friends is going to see it. Another friend is going to see it. So I hope they have a blast. Check it out in IMAX. If you haven't seen it, get your tickets for IMAX, baby. But yeah, great movie. Totally recommend it. It is way better than its predecessor. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and follow me over at Boba Fett Jedi Master on Instagram. Link is down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me. Don't forget to keep calm and play the go. Peace out. See you guys next video. Bye, everyone.